Hello, everyone. It's nice to see some familiar faces. Rabbi Mike was actually the first person to give me a chance to meditate for a group about 5 years ago. This is our fifth time. Yeah, and so this one means a lot to me for that purpose. And also because there's something about this day, Yom Kippur, that for me is my favorite time to meditate. Not in that it brings me the most joy, but that it brings me the most profundity or intensity. And I don't want to set some preconceived notion that you're about to have some profound experience, because I don't know that you will. But I'm just sharing my experience, which is that there's something about when I'm fasting and that when I'm reflecting on where I might have missed the mark and I'm hearing from people where they missed the mark, there's something about that sets a foundation for my mind and my spirit, if you believe that exists as well, that sets the foundation for that to be open for curation. That almost says to me, like, I want to set a new foundation for the new year ahead, and this is my opportunity to give myself a reset, to create an empty canvas for me to paint on for the year ahead. I'm just a guy that's going to be here talking on stage and also being silent. One of the biggest gifts I think I can give is one of restraint, one of knowing when not to talk. So I'm going to do my best to honor that. And when I do talk, I hope the words resonate. And really, when I talk, it's going to be to set the stage for an exercise, give you space and silence to practice that sentiment, and then give you some more guidance along the way. At some point, you'll hear some music come in. That timing was intentionally selected to help hopefully facilitate a good experience. At any point, I encourage you to use your discretion. If the meditation isn't resonating with you, to get up, to walk away, to come back if you need that moment. If at any point you don't appreciate or like my guidance, to guide yourself is also encouraged. But I'm here to give my best from what I've learned over the past few years to hopefully guide your mind to finding a little bit more peace than it did before we started. That would be a good outcome. Last thing before we start, this is not guaranteed to be relaxing. I really hope it is. That would be lovely. But you're a human being and you're going to have thoughts. You're going to have distractions. Be thinking about maybe a meal later tonight or something someone said to you once, right? And so the whole goal is to redirect your attention back from that distraction to the breath, not to not have the thought. I don't know if that's possible. I haven't figured it out. But what is possible is redirecting the mind back to the breath, and that's a powerful sentiment if you can do that. Because then in your everyday life, when something goes wrong, you can redirect it right back to the breath and handle yourself with more composure and grace. So we're just going to practice that. I close my eyes when I meditate. It helps me look inward. Feel free to keep your eyes open. If you do, just gaze at a spot at the ground or the wall. It'll be better than looking around and having a lot of stimuli. I root my feet in the ground, and I either have palms facing down if I want to really ground, or I have palms facing up if I want to be open to receiving. For me, the hardest part of the meditation is the first moment where silence permeates the space. It's not normal or usual that we would be completely silent amidst a group of people. So for the first 3 minutes, we're just going to embrace that silence, embrace physical stillness, embrace the sentiment that we don't need to be anywhere but where we are in this moment. Just a few minutes of silence and stillness before we begin. Start to notice your breath. There's nothing you need to do with it yet. No need to change it or analyze it. See if you can notice the simple fact that you're even breathing right now. With each breath in and each breath out, just notice and acknowledge the action of breathing. And start to notice how that breath feels physically in your body. So again, we're not analyzing yet. We're not changing the breath. See if your consciousness, that sense of a self, see if it can sink into the body. And see if you can just become one with noticing the sensations that you feel when the breath moves in and out of your body. And now is going to be the only time where we are going to change the breath in some way. And this will help to facilitate kind of a new mental and emotional equilibrium before we move forward. And this breathing exercise that I'm going to suggest is a normal breath in through the nose. And when you breathe out through the nose, the aim and intention is going to be to complete the exhale. Usually we stop short. See if you can breathe out through your nose normally, but keep going until you've let out all the air. Then we're going to pause for a second. Leave a space in between the end of the exhale and the start of the next inhale. So a space between exhale and inhale where there's nothingness. There's no breath. There's just pause. Notice that for a second, then breathe in, all the air out, 1 second pause, and repeat these at your own pace. And now you can come back to a breath that feels natural, one that you don't need to change in any way. And now we're going to move into a mantra practice. The idea of a mantra is to repeat something with each breath in and each breath out. I'm going to offer a few before leaving some space for silence for your own personal practice, just to spark some ideas, but the idea is to pick your own. You could choose one that kind of fits with the theme and idea of the day. You could, as you breathe in, you could breathe in the idea of forgiveness. And if you want to forgive the self, you could breathe out and say the word self. If you want to forgive another, you could breathe in forgiveness, breathe out the other. But perhaps you don't want to repeat that word and you just want to count the breath. Breathing in 1, breathing out 2, up until 10, starting over again at 1. Or maybe you really feel called to embody a form of nature and repeat something like breathing in, I'm a tree, breathing out, I'm rooted. The idea of this mantra is to give you a single point of focus when you breathe, and also a place to return to whenever you get distracted. Whenever you get a thought, which will happen, just notice the thought is thinking. Just acknowledge it as thinking, and then return right back to that mantra. And I'm going to join you now in silent personal practice, without my words, to repeat a mantra with each breath in and out, and to come back to that mantra whenever we go astray with thought. you can start to ease out of that mantra. You can start to let the mantra fade away and just come back to observing the fact that you're breathing. We're going to move into a visualization practice to cap off the meditation. To the best of your ability, you're going to imagine that you could observe yourself right now in your given surroundings, almost as if your consciousness could be outside of you, watching yourself, witnessing you right now. Just allowing that visualization to take shape. And as you continue to hold that visualization, imagine that that consciousness, the observer, could get up real close to one of your ears and whisper some words to you that you need to hear the most right now. Just listen, see what you hear. We're going to take another 2 minutes to end the way we began, just in stillness and silence. And after that 2 minutes, I'm going to invite anyone here to just raise a hand and openly share anything that came up during the meditation, any sentiment that you wish to share with me or the group here, or something that you even just want to say and not necessarily have responded to. But I find that hearing each other speak after tending to the mind can be a beautiful thing. It's also not required. If you feel like you want to depart in silence, there's no problem with getting up and leaving during that part. And to anyone who's watching on the stream virtually, I invite you to share a sentiment or ask a question in the comments, and I'll switch back and forth between tending to the virtual comments and the in-person. But just giving ourselves 2 minutes of silence and stillness. Then we'll come back to the space and have the option to share or ask a question. coming back to the space now at any pace you wish. I like to get a little bit of movement in my body without overdoing it. But if you also feel like you need more rest or more practice, feel free to continue on. At this point, if you feel like you wish to depart in silence, that is totally fine. And if you wish to share something either virtually or in person here, you can just maybe put a hand up or even just start talking. I just didn't want anyone to talk over one another, but either or, whatever feels right to you. There's nothing off limits. I don't share anything that's shared in this space. It's just a space to hear from one another. So I'll now take a back seat and let anyone take the floor. So sometimes this happens where there just isn't a desire to speak. And in those moments when I do leave time to speak, but there isn't anything to be expressed, I dive right back into the practice. So in this moment, if you feel like you've had enough practice, feel free to depart and continue using your time as you wish. But because there is more time that was dedicated to speaking, but doesn't seem to be an urge to speak, which is totally cool, I'm going to dive right back into guiding another breathing exercise and maybe another short mantra for any who wish to dive back in and get more practice. This breathing exercise I'm going to offer and introduce is in through the nose and out through the mouth. It's a normal breath in, and when I breathe out through the mouth, I purse my lips as if I was whistling. And I just let it out as slowly as I can. This is about slowing down the breath, about exaggerating how slow it could be. Each time you go through, challenging yourself to get slower and slower with each breath out. Seeing if you can notice any part of your being that slows down with the breath. Is it muscles in the body? Is it your mind? Is it your emotional state? See what happens if you really challenge yourself to slowing down that breath through pursed lips. now coming back to a normal breath, one that you don't change in any way. But what we're going to do is practice relating to that breath differently. See if you can just listen to the sound of your breath. Noticing how even when we're silent, we're still making some sort of sound. See if you can just listen to the sound that your breath makes. Now we're going to move back into the mantra practice, revisit that commitment to a single point of focus. If you want to return to the one you were on previously, feel free. This is also a wonderful opportunity to try a different sentiment, different set of words, numbers, or phrases. Again, acknowledging whenever your mind goes astray and coming back to the breath and the mantra whenever you do, moving into your own personal practice now with the mantra. you can let the mantra gently fade away. Just coming back to observing the simple fact that you're breathing like we did at the way beginning. And now giving ourselves again, like we did before, a couple minutes of stillness and silence before coming back to the space. And I'm going to re-invite anyone virtually and anyone in person to share a sentiment from the meditation or ask a question. I'll read the ones out loud that I get from virtual, and the ones that happen here can be spoken in person. Also, always having the option to depart on your own in silence if you wish. Just take these next couple minutes to reacclimate to the space before we come back together. I'm going to just read off a few sentiments that were commented here so that it was as if they were here. One individual wished to say, amazing meditation. I felt like I was floating. I was so relaxed. Another individual wanted to share with us, I liked the thought of someone whispering in my ear. It was so beautiful and personal. And a third individual wished to share with us, beautiful and relaxing. And I'll just leave some space in case there's a sentiment here. No worries if not. Well, I'll share a sentiment. I felt this tension I've been holding in my head for the past week. I've had more work than I've ever had in my life. And I feel like I'm expanding my boundaries in some way, which is good. But I've been holding a lot of tension in my head, and sometimes when you meditate, you feel more pain because you feel the pain being released. And that's what I felt today, and I was really grateful for the opportunity to be able to release that. And just really grateful to share the space with each of you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing the space. To me, there's some stuff more powerful, but not much more powerful than tending to the mind and curating that so that when we go out in our everyday life, we show up with more equanimity and more peace. I hope this could do that for you. I'm going to hang out here for a few minutes in case there's something you wanted to say or share privately. I'll turn off my microphone so that's not shared. To everyone who's watching virtually, wishing you a beautiful new year and an easy remainder of the fast, and take good care.